W-OLGC News. We are going to be telling you about what's happening in our school. In kindergarten, they have just gotten back from Christmas break and are excited to start 2013. They are learning on the Hail Mary by reciting it every day. In math, they are writing numbers up to 20. In grammar, they are working on word building. Don't forget to practice tying your shoes. That's it for kindergarten. Here's Ashley with first grade.
Thanks, Ashley. Hi, I'm Ashley Green, and I will be telling you what's happening in first grade. Well, first off, in math, they're preparing for their Chapter 7 test and their timed math facts quiz. In reading, they are beginning lesson 13 and are being encouraged to go on a new site they are using called Study Island to try to collect blue ribbons. There are also going to be a spelling test on January 11th, 2013. Good luck, first grade. Here's David with second grade.
Thanks, Ashley Green. Hi, I'm David, giving you the news of second grade. This week they are focusing on consonants, inflections, fiction, and nonfiction. Rereading, monitor comprehension, and spelling. On January 10th, they had a project due online forms. Remember that they need a pencil every day this week. In 2B, they have features of world projects due very soon. They are also learning plural possessive nouns. They have to read the story town books, do spelling, and their robust vocabulary. They had a lot of tests this week of 1, 7, and 13, including a religion. That's it for second. Now to Eddie with third grade.
Thanks, David. Hi, I'm Eddie, and I'm going to tell you what's going on with third grade. Remember to check the ILA copybook, practice book, or phonics book. For any information in your homework, check the website. Keep in mind the flu season is here. Try not to come to school if you're sick. Make sure you bring in tissues and cleansing wipes as much as you can. In math, they have been learning about numbers and patterns in different ways to measure. In science, they will study life science, earth science, and human science. In social studies, they are learning about different communities. Well, that's it for third grade. Now here's Nydia for fourth grade.
Thanks, Eddie. Hi, I'm Nydia, and I'm telling you about what's going on in the fourth grade. In ILA, the fourth graders just had a lesson 14 test. Students have to read 1 hour a week to record in their reading logs. The children are continuing to read from the Storytown textbooks. In math, they just took a test on Chapter 8. In social studies, they took a test on Chapter 5. And in science, they just had a Chapter 4 lesson 1 open book quiz. In religion, they will have class mass on the 25th. That's all for 4th grade. Now here's Caleb with 5th grade and 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math.
Thanks, Nydia. Hi, I'm Caleb, here to tell you about what's happening in 5th grade. In ILA, they are reading their weekly story time. In grammar, they are learning common and proper nouns. For spelling, they are working on vowel consonant and vowel pattern. I hope they did well on all their tests. In math, they are working on metric units and how to convert them with decimals. In religion, they have a test on Chapter 9, confirmation, and started working on Chapter 10. In science, they are learning about the water cycle, nitrogen cycle, the carbon cycle, and recycling. In social studies, the 5th grade is working on our country's geography. That's what's happening in 5th grade. Now I'm going to talk to you about 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math. 6th grade will be having a quiz on this Friday, January 11th. They will have their chapter test on Tuesday, January 15th. 7th grade will be having a quiz this Friday, January 11th. And a test on Chapter 5 will be on Tuesday, January 15th. Class 8-1 will be having a test on Wednesday, January 16th. And Class 8-2 will be having their test on Tuesday, January 15th. Well, that's a lot of tests coming up. I hope everyone's studying. Thanks, and now here's Marty to tell us about 6th, 7th, and 8th grade ILA.
Thanks, Kayla. Hi, I'm Marty. I'm here to tell you about 6th, 7th, and 8th grade ILA and social studies. In 6th grade ILA, the 6th graders just finished an independent reading assignment on January 8th. In 7th grade ILA, the 7th graders are learning about infinitives, that's it. Sounds really fun. In 8th grade, the 8th graders have a reading book report due on February 4th. And I hope they do well. In 7th grade social studies, they just finished about a chapter all about Greece. In 7th grade social studies, the students had a quiz on January 10th, and the 8th graders are finishing a chapter on industrial places. That's all for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade social studies in ILA. And now here's Megan with specials.
Thanks, Marty. Hi, I'm Megan, and I will be telling you about our specials. In Spanish, we are learning new vocabulary, simple questions, and the 5th grade is learning the Our Father. In library, we have recently purchased over 90 books thanks to the Barnes & Noble Book Fair. Remember, 5th or 8th grade, that your art sketchbook homework is due the week after you have art. In computers, K through 1st are using Microsoft Paint, and everyone else has been introduced to typing web online to practice typing. In gym, we are playing fun games like basketball, wiffle ball, and kickball. Well, that's all for specials. Now here's Ashley to close the show.
And that's all for this edition of W-OLGC News. We are all excited for Catholic Schools Week, so look for us next month for a special edition of W-OLGC TV News. See you next